Hold on, I know it's Valentine's weekend, but wasn't I supposed to catch a ball? Oh, that's better. Are you ready for some math Skittles? Before we can play Skittles today, we have to learn to make them. You can see Year 6 have been really busy. They've made some lovely decorated Skittles on some just plain paper. If you've got some coloured paper, you may want to try that too. So, how do we make them? First of all, get a blank sheet of paper. If you haven't got paper at home, remember you can come into school to get some. Then you need to wrap it around something. I've got two options. This is a kitchen roll, and I've got a bottle. You can see I decided to use the bottle. However, when I was practicing, my ball is quite light, and it does struggle to knock the big Skittles over. So if you've only got a light ball, I suggest you use something that's not quite as round, okay? Because that one tips over much easier even. So let's have a go at making one. Remember, I'm going to use this is just an empty water bottle. You might have different bottles, and you don't actually need anything to wrap them around. It just makes it a little bit easier. So I've got some sellotape, I've cut it down here. I'm going to wrap my paper around, trying to keep it level. And when I'm happy, I'm going to take out my sellotape. And there you go. Now I just need to take the bottle away. That can be tricky because Mr. Snape sellotaped it to the... There we go. I'll just use my scissors. You may need an adult to help you with your scissors. And you cut it. Slide it out, and I have a perfectly round Skittle. You can see already I've put the number 9 on. You may leave a space to put your numbers on. Today, I'm going to use the numbers 1 to 9. So I've got 9, 8. I'm sure some of you will know that 7. I've nearly got them in order. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and finally 1. Okay, now we're ready to play Skittles. Okay, now pause the video while you make your Skittles. Okay, it really doesn't matter how you want to set up your Skittles or which order they're in. I'm going to put them in one line because then I won't miss. And also I'm going to use just random. I'm not going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm just going to select any Skittle and put it in any order. You might want to do bigger numbers. Mr. Snape's got some quite small numbers on the top, but you could actually use much larger numbers so you can see them easier. Okay, when I'm happy with how I've got them set up, I'm really happy with that, I'm ready to start bowling. Okay, now I'm ready to start bowling. I've set them all up like this so they're in a straight line, so it should be quite easy to hit them. Oh, okay, so you can see my first number is a 3. And let's see if I can hit another one, because at the moment I'm just going to select 2. Ooh. And my second number, children, is a number 1. Brilliant. Let's do some maths. Okay, can I suggest, because we're using small numbers, to start with, we'll do addition. So we're going to add a 1 and a 3. So you can see this maths lesson is aimed more at year 1, maybe year 2. However, if I'm up in year 6, I'm definitely not going to write numbers 1 and 3 on my Skittles. I could even use numbers to 2 decimal places. It's at that point you need to challenge yourself. Okay, but for 1 and 3, so how can we actually add those quite easily? Well, if we're at home, we may have some egg boxes. They're fantastic for adding. And Mr. Snape raided his kitchen this morning, and I got some pasta shapes. So brilliant. So pasta shapes, obviously, I'm going to represent the 1. So this is my 1. And I'm going to put 3 into the other pasta shape. Sorry, into the other egg box. And that represents my 3. And then I can combine them because I'm adding. So I can take the 1 out, drop it into the other egg box, and I get my answer of 4. Brilliant. However, I do realise that some people, they may not have egg boxes at home like this. That's not a problem. We can use some 10s frames, quickly draw them out, fold a piece of A4 paper in half, and they work just as well. We can place the pasta shapes into the 10 frame, like this, and oops, here we go, here's another 10 frame there, and again we're representing the 3 and the 1. Okay, so hopefully that's given you some ideas of how you can really help your children using just some simple equipment that you'll have in the house. Of course, we don't have to have the Skittles in this arrangement. If we want a bit more of a challenge, we may actually put them in order. It's a good counting exercise as well. So we've got 1, we've got 2, we've got number 3, 4 behind, 5 and 6, and then I'm going to put 9 in the middle, 7 and 8 on the ends. Okay, this time I may knock more than 2 numbers over. So that's like raising the bar a bit, it's like challenging the children a little bit more. Okay, I only knocked 2 numbers over, but this time they were 8 and 5. What numbers do you think you'll knock over? Obviously, just like all the other videos you've been watching since this lockdown, just use the pause button if you need to stop, and press the rewind button if you're unsure of anything and want to listen to it again. To extend the activity, obviously the simple thing to do is to change the numbers on the Skittles. So instead of working with 1-digit numbers, you may start to work with 2-digit numbers, especially if you're in years 3 and 4. And 5 and 6, you know, you can work up to 3 and 4 digits. The other way is to actually change the operation. So we've been adding at the moment, but remember we could start to subtract. Definitely years 1 and 2 can start to do that. As we move into years 3 and 4, we should be able to multiply, especially if we're using 2-digit numbers. Divide. So you'd have to maybe roll the Skittle again to have a divisor, so get your answer, roll the Skittles again, knock a Skittle over, and then see if you can divide your answer by that number. So that's a real challenge. So if you're up in years 5 and 6, you should definitely be doing that. Back in years 1 and 2, we might be able to add and subtract 1 from our answer. And we could extend that to add and subtract 10 from our answer. So that's a way of extending it. Even using the 10s frame down in years 1 and 2, we could halve it. So that's the same as dividing by 2. And if you go up through school, we should see how many times you can halve it. That would be a real good challenge. So just halve it again, halve the answer again. See how many you can make in the sequence. Years 3 and 4, we're learning to multiply by 10. Remember what happens to your numbers when you multiply by 10 and 10 and 100. And again, if we're multiplying, we should be able to divide as well. So it's the opposite operation. We call it the inverse. Okay, years 5 and 6. Well, we can multiply and divide by 10 or 100, but try 1,000. What's the difference? Okay, and again, if we can multiply by 1,000, can we divide by 1,000? This is a bit more of a challenge now. I've set myself some real challenging sort of questions. This one says, can you, and then I've left a blank because can I find one factor of my answer? Can I find 2 factors of my answer? Can I find 3 factors of my answer, and so on? Okay, so that's a real challenge. Anyone like to tell me what a factor is? Email me in. I'll be happy to answer your emails. This is, can you find the next lot of multiples? Think about what a multiple is. You might think about your times tables. Think about multiples. Again, if anyone gets a good answer and like to email me in any multiples, that would be great to hear from you. And this last one, I was really thinking about Spencer because I know he's been doing squaring with Miss Flavel, and I did challenge Spencer about what squaring was. This one, can you square your answer? So that would be fantastic if you could email me in any squared answers that you found. Brilliant. Now don't forget, children, any of those questions that you need to look back on, either press the pause button or just press the rewind button, so you've got time and you can think about the challenge cards that you're going to make for your game. So now it's time to hand you over to Mrs. Pugh, who's going to read you a story. Have a great morning, kids. Here you go, Mrs. Pugh.